Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Cerberus at the Improv. I'm Peyman Ascari. I have here with me Mr. Timothy Knight. Welcome, Tim.
Afternoon.
How's your week going?
Yes.
I'll take that as a good.
I said it last week too. It remains unchanged.
Mr. Andre Maloche, how are you? I hope you're doing better.
Очень хорошо, очень хорошо.
Mm.
Very good in Russian.
You guys aren't making my life.
But maybe we can ask Timothy to say it in the Mandarin.
How many?
You can ask.
Okay.
You can ask. That's where it stops. I don't know.
So we, I guess we're making a routine of this every week. We're meeting, we're discussing all the shenanigans that are going around principally in the country. And I guess this week we're going to start with my backyard of Vancouver. The mayor, in his infinite wisdom, has thought it's a good idea for the not-for-profit city to start investing in volatile cryptocurrencies. Tim, what do you say to that?
Shenanigans. You just smell the word slush fund. You know, it's Bitcoin right now, and other cryptocurrencies are in an enormous bubble. An enormous bubble. So then what are you going to do? You're going to take the taxpayers' money from the citizens of Vancouver, all those cranked up property taxes that have been going on since the Beijing laundromat opened up in back in 2017, whatnot. And now you're going to take all that money that you've made and slam it into cryptocurrency. It smacks of fraud. It smacks of fraud. $10 says they'll use an NGO to do it.
What about you, Andre? Is this common practice in Quebec?
No, it's not common practice, but mining cryptos, we had a very big struggle 3 years ago because there were power outage in Eastern Township, and they discovered that there was a big farm of crypto mining. They were tapping into Quebec without paying. You can imagine the number of servers that they had to supply. The crypto in itself, think about it. We used to have barter, then we started to have fiat money backed by gold, and now we have technology. I'm sorry, no energy, no crypto. So the crypto can be a good instrument, but it's not backed by nothing. Usually fiat money is backed by the central bank and the government. That's what you have: assets, industrial process. So what is the idea of a mayor doing this? It's not his responsibility to do that. It should come from the top. And I will make a difference between the cryptocurrency or the digital currency and the CDBC, central bank digital currency, which was rejected last year by they asked Canadian, and I think it was 65% who said no to CDBC. Yeah. What does a mayor do with crypto? They don't even they're not even good enough to manage a budget, and now in crypto they're not backed up. You need assets. So I would say it's a very bad idea.
Crypto is 100% hype.
But what if instead of crypto, he had said, we're going to buy physical gold and silver? Is that the role of a municipal government?
No, it is not.
It is not.
It is not. It is not the role of a government to take an overage or a contingency or anything of a line item in a budget and put it to anything that is not directly in its mandate as given by the people. And in the middle of a housing crisis in Vancouver, rather than buying up, dead properties or empty pieces of land and putting their own housing in there and telling the federal government, we've got control of this, leave us alone, and doing that for which they have received a mandate from the people, they're going to put the money into what? Mario coins?
Yes, exactly. But crypto, I can ask you a question. Vancouver, is it 50? Will it be in the pool of the 15-minute cities?
Are you kidding me? It already is.
Montreal. Valérie Plante, who's the mayor of Montreal, she's vice president of the International Council for the 15-minute city. So we know why they're pushing this. So what's the next step? They will start. They could not do it with CDBC, so maybe they will go locally through cities, and then they will go up. Instead of going top down, they will just go up. Why not? They can try it.
You might be right, but
it's a hypothesis.
The idea of a government doing that which is outside its mandate without consultation, because I mean we have a democratic process, and so I mean I have to allow for that, right? In spite of my restrictive view, I have to allow for a change in mandate, right? Let's say you go to the voters and say, we're thinking of doing something like this. This is what it would look like. Here's the potential program. What do you as the voter and the taxpayer, because it's the people who own homes and businesses that are funding all of this, what do you think of us going in this direction? And then after they, put a hold on all pitchforks and tiki torches, and perhaps they get a yes and say, yeah, by all means, put all of our money into Mario Kart and drive it down off the dock, because that's what they're doing. But in a democratic process, you have to allow for that. And unfortunately, if the majority say, yeah, we all want to join in this financial suicide pact, then have at it, right? Go for your 17th booster.
Well, you mentioned the democratic process. Are we in the democratic process? Because we see it everywhere. Now it is a war against car in Montreal. And now the businesses are closing, and they're starting to raise opposition against the mayor. So, like you said, and the second thing is crypto. First of all, I think it is very volatile, and it's the mandate of the central. It should be the mandate of the central bank, not
the individual investor or small group that wants to get involved in these very volatile trading elements. Fill your boots, right? Educate yourself, be aware, support each other. That's great as an individual. But a democratic entity has no business dabbling in this. Peyman had an interview with Randy Hillier, which I really, really enjoyed, where Randy Hillier basically says the entire government is wrapped up, tied into and around special interest groups. Mm-hmm. And it's a what did he call it? I'm going to get the word wrong, is the sheen of democracy over top of it. But underneath, it's entirely interest groups.
It's interesting what you're mentioning, and I would say they play with this all the time. First of all, where's the risk management?
The what?
Risk management. Risk management.
I never heard of it.
Okay.
The management of risk.
The management. But come on.
Right?
When we
cost analysis.
When you have a business, you will have the front office who will do all the trade. You will have the middle office, which we call risk management. We try to evaluate the risk of a position, and then you have the back office, accountability, and everything. So, where do you see this in a city? They don't hire a financial advisor who will tell them which crypto you will buy, when to sell. People they have a master and PhD in economy. Well, you don't have this. You have public worker. Sorry, it doesn't work like that.
It caught me by surprise because I see this get into my feed, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Like, why would a city do this? But now listening to Andre, I guess what I'm really asking is what's going on here? Is it the central bank digital currency going in from the bottom up? Is it the mayor trying to get votes from the crypto bros? Is he trying to be edgy? Is this money laundering? Like, what's going on?
I think they don't know what they're doing, and in many domains they don't know what. No, I'm serious.
No, it's a viable explanation.
No,
you're a mayor of the city. Take care of the water. Take care of the garbage. Clean the snow when it's time to clean the snow. In Quebec City, they were cleaning the snow in April with D9 truck when there was nothing on the street. There was no snow. They had to spend the budget Melanie Joly, she bought what, $582,000 furniture before the end of the year because she had to spend it, or she would have lost the budget for the next year. They spend money without even thinking. It is like an automatic reflex. It's Pavlov.
Yeah.
You just put music and they will buy crypto. What is it?
Yeah, at a municipal level, I've heard this with school boards as well. As at a municipal level, you're given budget X, and if you're frugal and smart, and you spend 90% of budget X that year, you will get 90% will become your X the following year.
Of course.
So frugal and cost-effective spending is not rewarded. Largesse and overspending is rewarded.
And you can, for example, you ask for a budget of $1 million. Your boss gives you the budget. He borrows money, something, and you arrive and you say at the end of the year, I saved $200,000. I'm a good manager. No, you're not, because you ask too much. Then if you overspend, it's this, and then instead of rewarding somebody who will be efficient, you just they play like that.
And it's Pavlovian.
It's Pavlovian. They cannot think. So crypto for me is.
So survey says they just had to spend the budget and they just decided to buy crypto.
Survey says some bright spark from a day trading agency whose cousin is related to the mayor's ex-wife, twice removed from marriage through whatever, has approached somebody somewhere and said, hey, we've got a really great idea but we need some serious fundraising, and Vancouver is capable of doing that. How's about? It's exactly what Randy was talking about in the interview.
I had some I had some programmer when we were designing a very I would say serious software platform for the trading center, and the programmer was arriving in the morning and he was telling me, oh, yesterday night I programmed that option. I think it will be nice for the trader. I said, who asked you to do that? Who asked you? Go test the requirement of those people who work, and then you will be able to design something. Who asked you? So it's the same thing, like you said, Timothy. Somebody arrives at a great idea. Nobody knows about how crypto works, and they say, "Oh, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it."
Yeah. The mayor says, "I don't know anything about crypto." Yeah, and the representative of this other company, small day trading company or whatever, they're running machines in Eastern Quebec. Right?
Well, it's like it's like Stephen Guilbeault with his investment, Ministry of Environment of Canada, and he's having investment in oil company. Explain this to me.
Like philosophically, it doesn't fit.
I mean, maybe I'm not intelligent enough. I think it's a question of.
We're not, though.
Exactly.
We're not. We're too white.
And you don't believe in climate change. That's your two weaknesses.
Well, climate changed a few weeks ago when winter came, so I'm okay with that.
Yes.
And if I stick my head out the window, wait 5 minutes, it'll change again.
And through crypto, you cannot challenge them. As soon as you start to ask intelligent or rational questions, they become hysterical.
Yeah. This is crypto. Are you talking about crypto now or climate change?
No. It's always the same. It's always the same process. As soon as you arrive and you say, where is the risk management when you will get positioned with crypto? And is it a short, middle, or long-term investment? Yeah. How you will cash? They have nothing. They improvise like us.
Yeah. In day trading and volatile markets, the time you're staying in the market is the critical element, right? Exactly. And I know people who they trade on an hour-by-hour basis, and they're trading small amounts on an hour-by-hour basis, but because they're using computers to assist with that they're actually able to make good returns over time.
Exactly.
But the city is not capable of monitoring that external agency that will do this on their behalf. So what's to stop that external agency from operating in a little bit of shenanigans by shaving off 1/10,000th of a penny off of every single transaction?
Did they publicize the amount of money that they would buy?
No, he's just floating it. But see, the municipalities they don't feel that they're beholden to the citizens in their town. So they're not going to give them the details.
Mm-hmm.
And mind
They're
you,
not.
Vancouver is not like a township. It is a massive. You can think of it as a big corporation or a massive portfolio.
Well,
And
it's
the
at
mayor
least
is the
6
manager.
cities. It's at
Sorry?
least 6 cities. Vancouver is at least 6 cities.
Exactly.
The GVRA, anyway. They're the GVR, the Greater Vancouver Regional District. And Vancouver proper wields a lot of influence on the surrounding other municipalities. A lot of influence. So it's if Vancouver proper, if they go through with something like this, you could be guaranteed that the surrounding municipalities will be brought into it as well.
Maybe
That's a good point.
mm.
Should
Because
we?
eventually they act as one body. That's why you have the Greater Vancouver Regional District, right? And that Greater Vancouver Regional District goes from Horseshoe Bay in the north, down to Tsawwassen in the south, and all the way out to Langley in the east. And there are, well, it's on a persons per square feet. It's the most dense piece of territory in Canada. It's more population dense than Toronto, more population dense than Montreal.
That's what they want, you know. And the concept of 15-minute city is density, more people on the smaller territory.
Yeah.
So, and if we go back to crypto, it's always the same thing. What maybe they can, you know, public transport, snow removal, garbage removal.
Yeah.
That's their level.
Yeah,
it is a.
One last thing before we move on the issue of cryptocurrency intersecting climate change. How much energy do we need for these cryptocurrencies?
I can answer to you because I wrote that in my essay that I finished 2 years ago. Just for it was in 2021. It took for the entire crypto world crypto. It was 190 terawatt-hour, which is yes terawatt-hour. And just to give you a basis of comparison, the installed capability of Hydro-Quebec and the energy that Hydro-Quebec is producing is exactly 190 terawatt-hour per year. So
is that for a population, you guys had a power outage?
Maybe for a population of 8.5 or 9 million people with 35 terawatt-hour of exportation to United States.
Yeah,
this is 1 year of energy for all the crypto, domain. It is huge. You cannot mine crypto if you don't have extremely powerful servers. Google, they say Google consumes 6 megawatt hour for their servers in the Silicon Valley, which is incredibly big. You need air conditioning, you need structure of system.
There's water underneath the floor.
It is water cooling. Yeah. I know a lot about this. It's amazing. So, and tomorrow, power failure, forget it. No money. You want to pay your worker, just nothing. So crypto is based on technology. I do not deny the fact that we are in 21st century and we have new financial tools, but who's controlling them?
Who's controlling them?
They don't know nothing about it and they just improvise. Yeah. And we saw some crypto that did crash. The man loses his computer, and on the hard drive he has he has the key, and forget about it. A man lost, I think, if I remember, it was in 2023. He lost $17 million of crypto.
That's an expensive.
And he went to the garbage.
Went to the dump.
He went to the dump, and he was completely desperate because he said he wanted to recover his computer. Poor man. You put all your eggs in one basket. And it's in your computer. Wait, be serious. It's not serious.
Should we?
Before you jump to the next topic, I want to add a little bit of that. I was on Twitter. I'm getting used to Twitter. I'm not really good at it, but happened to see a graph posted by a fella. He said, "This is the online data usage of my washing machine last month. 3.5 gigabytes of data."
I saw that
washing machine.
How many clothes is he washing every month?
No, but
this is what my thought was. Who's to say that's not being hacked for Bitcoin mining?
Exactly. This is possible. You hack the operating system and of the washing machine.
Yep.
They can do it.
Yep.
They can do it. And you
Yep.
use the power of the washing machine with the electronics, and you mine the crypto. That's a possibility. It is not impossible.
Yeah.
We saw how they hacked the pager of the Hezbollah. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Good hackers, they
call that a hack. That was like a full on. They intercepted it.
It's straight up piracy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's different.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next topic. Andre, this is in your neck of the woods. So this is, are you comfortable with having an individual who defended Sharia law in the National Assembly? And I'm just going to translate this for us that don't speak English. This picture right here. Sharia is something very broad. You understand there isn't just one. There are many, and there are as many as there can be interpretations. There are many. This guy's annoying. There are many that coexist, if you will, in the Muslim world. You can't just say Sharia, it's bad. This is Haroun Bouazi.
Yes,
he's an MLA MPP basically in Quebec. So Andre, why don't you brought this story to our attention? So why don't you tell us what's going on in Quebec?
Well, you know, this quote is from 2015, and he's an MLA for Quebec Solidaire. Quebec Solidaire, it is, I would say, left-wing, social party. I have a hard time in Quebec finding a right-wing party, but anyway, and this man is an MLA, and he was on many committees because the law in Quebec, the law 21, which is the law on secular organization to separate the state and the church. He was on many committees, and he was promoting, you know, the fact that you cannot wear a religious sign in position of power if you're a teacher, if you're a doctor, and or a judge. Or so I was surprised to see this declaration. Then what happened 2 weeks ago? He started to target some minister in the National Assembly and evoking what he was calling systemic racism. And it backlashed because people were saying, "What are you talking about?" Because he was referring to Muslim. And in Quebec, they started to ask him to resign because they were saying, "What are you talking about? Systemic racism at the National Assembly? You target other MLA." So I think it was more of a fight between, I would say, two parties like the Coalition Avenir Québec and Quebec Solidaire, and it's junior politics. It's not even serious. If you go back to Sharia, you can say the same thing about Christianity. You can say the same thing about Judaism. All those monotheistic religion, they have interpretation, they have current. When you talk about the Sharia, I'm not a specialist of the Islam world, but you know that you have the Salafism, the Takfirism, you have the Shiite, the Sunnite. In Lebanon, you have Druze, which is considered a heretical branch of Islam. So when he's talking about this, this quote means nothing. It means nothing. Instead of letting people who know what is Islam, what is the Quran, and try to explain it rationally, I think he's fueling, I would say, a scandal. That's the only thing he's doing. And he's part of this party, Quebec Solidaire, and they are, I'm sorry, they push for always the same thing. You don't develop natural resources, they're socialist. I'm sorry to say this. It's Quebec Solidaire. We make jokes sometimes, Quebec Socialist, but they never oppose the government on social issues, but they're pushing sexual gender ideology. They're pushing all the, I would say, the United Nations 2030 agenda. So it does not surprise me if you arrive and you use Sharia in a province. I will not talk about Canada, but let's say in a province, and you say, I want to separate the power of the state and the religion. Do it equally. I'm not necessarily for that, but I say do it equally. You cannot favor, you cannot be more, I would say, you cannot sponsor one religion over another. So I think that's the main concern. And in Quebec, I think in the rest of Canada, it's something else. We think about Indian people, Sikh, Punjabi. They all arrive here with different culture and different religion. And how do we react to that? Canada, I will talk about Canada. It is a Christian civilization. So if we decide to separate the state and religion, we have to do it equally for all religion, and not. I think they're playing on this because there's a big Muslim community in Quebec, and they are pushing it. They're lobbying, I think, and it is in the National Assembly. So it was a scandal. Instead of talking about $11 billion of deficit this year and talking about serious things, they talk about this. It's a symptom, and we see it everywhere in Canada.
Yeah. So that you have one side, and we'll, for lack of a better word, we'll call them the establishment, who are up to their own shenanigans and have their own secret plans, and they're busy distracting everybody from an $11 billion deficit. And on the other side, you have special interest groups, which include other world religions who have their own interests, and they're pushing their own agendas. And the establishment will look at these other small interest groups and say, hey, we make that front and center, no one's going to look at what we're up to. And all it does is it absolutely conflates the entire situation. And eventually, the establishment will stand up and say, well, this is a protected so-and-so, or right, or this is something phobia, or this is. The moment you do that where a religion is concerned, you have already identified the state religion.
Exactly. And there's a joke in Quebec when they don't want to talk about serious aspect, like economy, I would say, like housing, they will talk about the language. They will push the French. Oh, we have to defend the French language in Quebec. And many people are very sensitive to that, so they manipulate them. Yeah. And they do it. They do the same thing with the religion. Instead of having a frank discussion about it and explaining the concept, and let's say we talk about the freedom of practicing a religion. It is in the Canadian Constitution. So you can arrive and you can say, yes, if you are a Muslim and you want to practice Islam, yes, but respect the structure of the country. Yeah. Do not try to, I would say, push a religion, and we see it. You have mosque everywhere, but they pray on public places. Why?
On public streets.
On public street.
Yeah. Well, because they're better at Martin Luther King than others.
Maybe, yes.
Civil,
yes.
Right? Civil disobedience.
That's exactly.
They're better at Martin Luther King than citizens who've lived here for 300-400 years.
That's a very good point. I would say.
Right. So it's this has a negative context, but one of the benefits of living in an impoverished nation, or a nation where you don't enjoy the bourgeois things and lifestyle that we in the North and the West have enjoyed for so long, is you have nothing to lose. So when you come here and you realize the police aren't going to take my dad away tonight when I go to this protest, then you're going to go protest. Right. And when the police are being told, and they make it plain that they're being told, don't interfere with such and such a group because they're a protected group, then that group is going to push the envelope. That's just the way it works.
I think you're right. The fact that you mentioned this freedom, I would say relative freedom that we have here.
Yes.
Some people will just exaggerate.
because they can.
Because they
Because
can.
they can, right? Because our administrative arm of the Canadian system is failing, the justice system is failing, and the military system is failing, and they're all failing on purpose. So if I come from a country that has fought against these systems because they've taken away my, took away my father, or took away my ability to maintain, or bulldozed my village for whatever, then I come to Canada and realize, well, I can get pretty much everything I ever possibly dreamed. I can even take advantage of the people here, and no one's going to get in my way. What are you going to do? You're going to push the envelope. It's human nature.
Yes, you see what happened. I think it was last week at the National Assembly. It was after that. It was in the news everywhere in Quebec, and they were asking this MLA to resign. The leader of Quebec Solitaire said he was behind his MLA. So they started to, it was a fight between. Usually, you have the fight between the Parti Québécois and the Liberals or the Coalition of Near Quebec. Now it was funny because they lose all respectability and they make look the institution bad. That's what I would say. They look like it's like a school game, and they don't think when they talk or when they do declaration. We do it. It's very easy, but on social media, you're not on social media. You're in Parliament.
Yeah.
So you have to act according to that. And that's that, in my opinion, I think it's a lack of respect of institution. And
I wanted to bring up one other thing, Andre. You mentioned, I think it was Bill C-21, where they're trying to secularize.
Yes.
So this article, this is the same thing, but it's happening here in Vancouver. This woman, she identifies as a Nigerian Canadian, so I'm assuming she's from Nigeria. Vancouver Police Board Vice Chair. She claims that her son's participation in Diwali, I'm sorry for my dogs, I hate them. Diwali celebration at school made her realize that the push for secular education wasn't about religion, but about erasing Christian values from the lives of children. Is this like something's going on with Sharia law where people, it's not even alarmist anymore. It's not racist. Like they're trying to get rid of Christian law while they're supporting Sharia law.
And Diwali is Hindu, is it not?
Yeah, sorry, not to confuse it. So this is another issue. It's another.
Yeah.
Well, we have. I think it was in 2005 in Ontario. They tried to push Sharia law. It was rejected, and then is it in Alberta that they started to have mortgage,
right,
according to Sharia law, because you cannot have usury.
Yes.
You cannot use interest rates. So what they were doing, they were saying,
I think it was called halal mortgage.
Something like that. And it was like, okay, it will not be usury, it will not be an interest rate, but it will be a fee. So we respect we respect the Quran. And now what was supposed to be an exception is starting to look like a norm, standard. And maybe you're right. We're pushing, they are pushing, Christianity outside of the scope.
Yes.
We see it everywhere. Now you see it in BC, and we see it in all institutions. 1 month ago, it was in school, primary and secondary school in Quebec, with this influence of Islam, Muslim teacher. We see it everywhere. So that should worry people here. We're still a Christian nation. I have to remind people of that. It's even in the Constitution. I'm not inventing it. So
that's right. Yeah, we're not inventing it. Yeah, and it's not just religious objectives that are picking away at Canada's institutions from inside, because we also have actual, like other special interest groups that are also pushing the envelope. SNC, right? Lavalin, and other similar organizations that in the
Exactly.
past would not have gotten away with these, these financial fraudulent and backhanded relationships, certainly to the degree that they are getting away with these days. So as the Canadian government and the judicial system and even the military, the respect and their capability as it's been watered down, as these three arms begin to fail, anybody with an axe to grind will start sharpening it. And anybody with a Ponzi scheme will start pushing it. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what you wear around your neck. It doesn't matter what you wear on your head. It doesn't matter what groups you belong to. If you find that you can push the envelope and get away with it, you will.
It's like you said, self-interest. They will
Self-interest.
push, yes, and it's we live in an individualist society. We know that, but we have responsibilities. We have rights, but we have responsibilities and duty. We cannot do whatever we want.
And I think this is the curse of democracy. The curse of democracy is it's not always the largest group that is represented, but it's the group that can actually position themselves into positions of power. Right. And we've seen this wokeism with Soji and other, ridiculous Marxist, objectives that have pushed their way from both directions. Right. And so the
top down, bottom up,
and bottom up, and where DEI is top down and ESG is bottom up.
Exactly.
And then we have the entire system is keyed to continue putting this pressure on the average citizen. Right. And sooner or later, the egg will break.
You see, this is why, Peyman, you were surprised. You say, I was surprised about crypto. If they are everywhere at all level, and they are in the healthcare, they are in economy, they are in, let's say, climate change, they are energy, they are everywhere. So they place their I would say their piece everywhere, and they can start to control the structure. Which I would say, when this MLA said that the National Assembly was a racist, he said it is a systemic racism. I prove that. You have to prove it. It is a system. I would say the system that is what is systemic now. It is the control of our institution, and this is maybe what we have to take back, and based on, I would say, a secular society that respects people beliefs, whether it is Islam or Judaism or Christianity. That's maybe the beauty of a system that will. We see this. I can refer to Gaza. But there's a lot of Christian in Gaza. We never mentioned that. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of Christian outside in other countries that were persecuted for their religion. And
I just think there's an elephant in the room that we don't want to talk about. If all people of all the world, they're all children of God, and everyone is good, well, then we should accept all faiths. But if, like you said, that we are a Christian nation, like people don't want to come out and say there's something about Christianity that's better than Islam, or there's something about Christianity that we like more than Islam or Hinduism. And just not being able to say that is very difficult for us to inoculate ourselves. So we're being just ripped apart.
The uninterpreted and unmodified Criminal Code of Canada and the Tree of Life legal concept from the British system. These are formed on the 10 Commandments from the Bible. These 10 Commandments provide for a spiritual and social balance among people groups and individuals. And of those that have been tried in a governmental system throughout history, this has provided the most stable basis on which to form a civilization that is bound by a governmental body that acts on their behalf. And that's all very, conceptual language. But so I don't think you even need to say Christian nation. You just recognize that the foundational elements on which our laws and our structures are based is from these documents. from the Old Testament, from
Right,
those.
but do you get where I'm going with? However you want to phrase it, that
I
foundation.
do.
They
I
want
do.
to
The problem
replace
is,
it.
though, it's a liberal view to say if I have to accept Christians, I have to accept everything else, because even Christians don't accept Christians, right? So it's right. So it's too broad a brush, and on these things, I don't think we are. Painting with too broad a brush does not help us. So you have to dial in to little things like not purchasing halal stamped foods, because a percentage of that purchase goes directly to jihadist activities. And we know that, and it's trackable, and they're not ashamed to say it. Why would they be ashamed? They're not ashamed of their religion. So there's that, right? But we as Christians are so afraid of offending that we will literally harm ourselves to avoid causing someone else faux harm. Because if another and most of these other religions are older, right? You know, like Buddhism and Confucianism, Hinduism. These are old religions where they understand there's really not much you can say that will cause me or my religion harm. Right? But in the West, we've attached our faith to our amygdala. It's so much of it is emotional, which is a liberal view rather than being rational. So many of the other world religions are just like, no, we have a very logical view to this. This is truth. It is immutable. It is unchangeable. How I feel is only incidental. And so they know this. So these are hardy people. You come into the West and everybody's bourgeois. I love that word these days. And I'm part of that generation. Right? So we're too soft. We're too soft. And we're too afraid of offending people who come into my backyard, and presume to tell me this is my country. Now you can go home. And I'm thinking, I am home. It's been home for me and my people upwards of 500 years. Right? My family have been in Newfoundland 400 years or more, and that's trackable. Right? So, no.
That brings the problem of, I would say, identity. And when we talk about Justin Trudeau in 2019, when he said Canada is a post-national country,
yes,
and with multiculturalism, so you arrive and you say, okay, we're all immigrants. No, because the identity also is based on where you are born. That's a fact. Then if you immigrate to another country and you are welcome there, you will what? You will accept the value of there, and especially if it is the country is giving you good freedom to practice your religion, to do business. You say, okay, I'm happy. Muslim, they arrive here, they can build mosque, they can practice their religion, they're not persecuted. Why we don't have this attitude? I think you mentioned something interesting, Timothy. The moral code of Christianity is strong, and because we are starting to be weak morally, we start to drift away from this moral code. And I think I can refer to Alexander Dugin. He's a Russian philosopher. He's not a lot of people know him, but I will refer to his daughter, who was murdered. I'm sorry to remind this, but killed 2 years ago in a terrorist attack. And she was a philosopher, and she was saying something very important. She said, all those religions, old religion, Hinduism, Buddhism, or Christianity, or Islam, they all have something good. Why we don't try to understand them, the good part of those religions? I cannot condemn the Sharia law. I don't know the Sharia law. I would like to have somebody would explain that. I would explain what could be good or bad. It is not easy. And like you said, Peyman, the elephant is in the room, and you don't have good intellectual who will arrive and start to discuss about it calmly, rationally. We don't see this, and we are stuck with people who react according to their faith, or I would say, their political agenda.
I just wanted to add something to that. I have my own podcast, and I've been trying to get somebody to come on and explain, like, draw a line from Christianity to Western, legal system, our form of law. And nobody has been able to hold my hand and walk me through it. I want to understand that.
Mm.
But like, either Christianity has nothing to do with the law, in which case let's bring Sharia law, more diversity is better, or bringing Sharia law is like literally you're messing with the foundation and the entire structure is going to come collapsing.
Why would I want to introduce a new system of law in a whole nother nation that already has 1,000-year history under that legal system, unless I want to replace it? No.
That's a good point.
No, you're ghettoization the justice system. Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. No, it's the same as the now I'm angry. It's the same as the Khalistanis, right? So they come here, we open up our doors to them, and now they're wandering around in our streets with literal saber rattling on film, and the police do nothing. Meanwhile, we have people during the time of madness being questioned by police for standing on bridges waving Canadian flags. What madness is this? No. You come to my country, you act Canadian. You absorb our, and what you do in your own home is your right. That's the beauty of being in Canada. The beauty of being Canadian is you can honor. Look at the Ukrainians that have been in the prairies, and the Russians that have been in the prairies and have been there for more than 100 years, long since before the Anabaptists and the Mennonites came over, long since before, right? And their culture is rich and it enriches Canada, but you don't see them trying to change our entire legal system to accommodate, I don't know, the week before Orthodox Easter, everybody is required to paint 6 Easter eggs or something. It doesn't apply. It doesn't apply. Your Sharia law does not belong anywhere inside Canada. You want to operate like that within your own mosque as a function of your faith, fine, right? So if you want to hold a bit din, right, then it stays in your synagogue. Don't bring that into, and by and large, the Jewish people do not do that. But bringing in other religions and bringing your battle, the Khalistani battle, onto Canadian shores, no. And our government is not only the government, because we have officers and people in the judges, especially. Judges are the weakest link, in my personal opinion. We have officers and judges who will not do what they have sworn to do. And somehow they need to either grow the stones and do the job or step down.
I think either our religion or our faith has weakened, and it shows. Then it's not only a question of religion, it's a question of moral code, and the fact that we are, like you say, maybe sometimes we mix kindness with weakness. We want to be kind, we want to welcome people. Some people, they came from, I would say, East European country where they were persecuted, or they come from Middle East and they arrive here and they are in despair. I think about Syria. They are in despair. Yeah. They arrive here and they say, I will be safe here. I know a man, he's from Syria. He was an engineer, one of my colleagues, and we had a chat recently. And he said, I immigrated here from Syria in 1971. And he was an engineer. He was hired at Hydro-Quebec. And we were talking, and he said, I don't recognize Canada anymore. I don't recognize it. And he's Christian Maronite from Syria. And he was shocked. He said, I never thought, he said, all my family is here. My children now, I have grandchildren. He's a little bit older than me. And he said, I'm afraid for my grandchildren. And I told him, I said, I'm afraid too. I'm afraid too. We had a good moral code. It was not perfect. We admit it. But we were trying to have cohesion between all Canadian citizens. And we know the history of Canada, the French Canadian, the English Canadian, the native people, how we struggle for so many years,
Yep.
and we still are struggling. But many people, they arrived here and they were saying Canada is a peaceful place to live.
Yeah.
And now it is not anymore.
I have a question, and I hope this doesn't wind up Tim too much. I think it will. There was a case, I think it was in the 90s. I might get the details wrong. It was a Sikh gentleman who wanted to ride a motorcycle without a helmet because he had a
Here in
turban.
British Columbia.
Yeah, I hope I got
remember.
most of the details right. Was the right thing at that point to say, no, these are the laws of this land. If you don't want to ride a motorcycle, that's your choice. But if you want to, your religion doesn't take precedent. Would that have been the right response?
His reason was religious, and that is a baptized Sikh wears the turban. And obviously, we don't make safety headwear that would accommodate a turban. So his argument was, I wear the turban as part of my vows, part of my faith. And I appreciate that. But you're riding a motorcycle. So if you want to ride a motorcycle, then you have an obligation to protect yourself according to the laws of the land. And if you're not willing to do that, then you have to accept the consequences. Well, what are the consequences? Consequences are you will be fined, and or your vehicle will be impounded, and or you will run into something and die.
No, but I think you're right, Timothy. And there was another case more recently in Quebec. It was a Sikh worker. He was working on D9 truck, and he didn't want to wear a safety helmet, and where everybody's wearing a safety helmet, and he lost. They said, either you comply with your security equipment, or you just find another job.
Yeah.
Because what happens is you send contradictory messages to people. You say,
Yes.
you work.
Yes.
I worked for 33 years at Hydro-Quebec. I was in an environment where it was very dangerous.
Yes.
In power plants, in the substation. I was working at very high, 125 feet in a and I can guarantee you the equipment was mandatory. It is not even a question of your religion or not. And now, if you start that, you will start to accommodate everybody. We had this extremely disturbing concept in Quebec, les accommodements raisonnables, reasonable accommodation. And you were starting to accommodate everybody in every situation, and you have people who comply with the law, and they look at their co-worker or their neighbor, and he does not wear a helmet. He does not. So this is not possible. You cannot have this type of accommodation. You will break social cohesion.
Eventually. You know what I would offer? Look at a workplace, for example, that's the critical one. It's a critical one. Like I said, a reasonable accommodation is you act in accordance so that you don't kill the man working beside you. Right? That's generally it's wear a mask to protect grandma. But in the workplace, that's true, right? In the workplace, you wear your protective headgear. Otherwise, you're going to put yourself and your partner at risk, right? So I would offer, you have the person who says, I want to, wear a particular piece of religious clothing or not wear or whatever to accommodate my lifestyle, my vows, my need. Okay, you can do that. And if and when, because eventually it will happen, if and when you are injured, you waive all rights to medical treatment.
Yes, but you know what happened during the pandemic, and they were talking about people who refused the injection, and in Quebec they wanted to impose a tax to people who refused the injection, or they wanted to put to forbid them to go to hospital. What they call reasonable accommodation. It was a 10 years debate in Quebec, and there was a committee with two philosophers who
There's a useless committee
wrote a
right
report.
there.
I think the report was 500 pages.
They should have done a podcast.
And no, it is interesting because they could not agree on what was reasonable accommodation. They could not agree, and they were weakening the system.
Yes,
and they were accommodating other religion. That was the conclusion of the report. I summarize it, and we are. I fast forward 10, 15 years after, we are in this situation now. Every time somebody will say the law does not apply to me because I don't like it or because it doesn't suit my religion, change it for me.
Yeah. In
Change
which
it for
case,
me.
it's not the law, is it? It's
It's
a
not.
it's a pirate code. It's more of a
Well,
guide, right?
so
It's more of a
so
guide, and then the guide is based on how much money or influence you have,
that's lobby. That's
right? And
lobbyism.
that's a lobby, and
Exactly.
that's a lobby. And a lot of these external agents, particularly those agencies which support the migration process, like I'm not even allowed to use the word refugee anymore because apparently, well, everybody's a refugee now. I can't say immigration because that's harmful to immigrants because who knows? Like, okay, the UN can F right off. Let's just be done,
Okay.
right? Like,
That's
I want my country to be run by my countrymen, right? And I want
we,
sensibility, and that if I go to work and my hand is near a machine and my ring gets caught in the machine, and then it turns and pulls the ring off my hand and takes the skin and the muscle with it. WorkSafe BC will refuse to pay me,
exactly.
and rightfully so.
You don't comply with the rule.
Right. And rightfully so. Because
Security
right,
first.
wearing a tie around a copier machine. The joke is the 80s was all those jokes, right? Because these are real, right? These are real issues.
I
But you
can
get special interest groups and special people who say, well, I deserve special rights. Like, okay, fine, but not here. Right? You do at your home or at your rod and gun club or at your, Buffalo club or wherever it is that you socialize with, but not here.
I during my 33 years at Hydro-Quebec, I saw tragic accident.
Yeah.
People who died, people who were injured, burned. I
Yeah.
saw many things, and I will never forget it. And for me, thank God at the time, I remember Hydro-Quebec had a very good security policy. It was people's first, and that was very important because after that, it's not only bad press. Somebody gets injured or
Mhm.
killed. It is a tragedy. So we have laws. Why? Because laws are supposed to protect us against
Yes.
injustice, against, I would say, predatory. So we have to respect them. Of course, they have to be fair for everybody, I would say.
And then keep your liability costs down.
Exactly.
Like the improve efficiency. It improves esprit de corps among your workmates. It's like in the workplace, it's ghettoization on an individual level.
It's team building.
Team building. Yes.
What I call business culture. You have a business culture. I had a chief electrician I was working with in 1985, and he died 5 years ago. He was in Sept-Îles, and he climbed on a 125,000 volt transformer. And I saw that in the news. I was shocked because I knew him very well. But that meant I knew him when I was working with him. He was not following the rule. I would say God save his soul. But the question was, I was shocked, but I was not surprised because I knew how he was behaving, and he was reprimanded many times. Security is a very big issue, and you talk about risk management. When we play with life, or when you play with beliefs too. You mentioned the I would say the Islamic lobby who's financing I would say terrorist organization. I will put them between quote, okay, but still we know it. So the purpose is it religion? Is it faith? Is it practice? Or is it political agenda?
Ideology.
That's
right.
Difficult. That's
yes.
difficult to
yes.
distinguish.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yes. And those individuals who participate in a religion, honestly, understand the difference between the ideological interpretation of that faith and the practical and spiritual and community application of that faith. So it is the ideologues that will take a faith and bend it to commit atrocities for their own gain. Look at Central America, right? So you have business and regal interests in Central and South America that used the Catholic Church's zealous behavior as an excuse to commit phenomenal atrocities on local populations. And then the legacy is that the Catholic Church is evil.
Well, you understand.
Right? So the individual, right? Sorry, but the individuals who committed these atrocities, they get away with it, and they get cities named after them, and they get days of the week named after them. But meanwhile, the faith that was the rube, right? Well, that was looped into the this is why we're doing this. That gets to suffer. The ideologues cause problems, and that's the ideologues in Judaism, in Hinduism, the Khalistani and the Pakistan problem in Kashmir. That's been going on for hundreds of years. You know, you look at the Islamic houses themselves are divided to the point of internal civil war for hundreds of years. Most of the caliphates rise and fall on individual houses. Right? All history is like this. But those who practice a particular faith for the spiritual and community truth that it can present, they're lost. Those people are lost in the stardom, the fame, the infamy that the ideologues gain at the expense of religion.
Andre, why don't you follow up with that, and then we should probably get going. We have 2 more topics to cover.
No, I think Timothy summarized it very well. And maybe what I could say, one thing is, you know, you have faith and you have religion, and we both need them. We both need them because faith is something that is intimate. Religion is a structure, but religion permits you to, I would say, to express your faith. Some people exaggerate, like Timothy said, and they exaggerate and they push an agenda, and then it is not religious anymore. It is political.
Yes.
And there's a very, very, very thin borderline, and a lot of people, they cross this border often for any reason. This is where we have to be more moderate.
All right. Well, let's bring it back to the present century.
Oh, like Mr. Moderate himself.
So, Andre, I'm going to get you to comment. I did a lot of these things. They go over my head. I think I get too emotional sometimes. So you pointed out that what Trump was saying around all of this fluff, he's saying we have the power. By the way, for those that don't know, Donald Trump threatened to slap a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico if we don't stop the flow of fentanyl into their country and illegals. And he's saying, you guys have the power to stop this. You could do it easily. You could do it tomorrow. Help us. What do you say, Andre?
Well, because we talked, I think we talked a lot this week about this. And when Donald Trump talks, when he speaks, now it is on Truth Social, but before it was on Twitter, which is now X. When he was posting, he had hundreds of thousands of reply or like or whatever it was, and they even censored. Even they banned his account. He's talking about 25% tariff, and everybody is hysterical in Canada. He told us, he said, you are a sovereign country. You have the power. I am not saying nothing else. You have the power to fix the problem. And if you do not do it, it will be America first. I will fix the problem for you. Clean your stable, or
clean your room.
Clean your room. So, but my idea was, and we talked about it this week, Donald Trump is a businessman. He talks business. So he says, you don't want to fix it? Yeah. Okay, you will pay for it. That's it. It's not complicated. And they all react. You should have seen the reaction of François Legault, the Prime Minister of Quebec. He's not a very intelligent man, but I think he surpassed himself in stupidity this time. He said that Trump is a threat to Quebec language. You're talking about language. We're talking about tariff, 25%. And think about it. The 70% of the exportation of Canada is through United States. Tomorrow, or January 2050 will be in office, directly the first day he will impose that, it means that all Canadian companies are not competitive anymore from the next day. And it is funny because everybody's freaking out. Just fix the problem. The problem that was created more than 10 years ago, and that's still going on. And we talk about it, and we talk about it. We talk about immigration, not only illegal immigration, but people who do not respect their visa, people who are coming here to study, but they never study. They have a student visa. There's a scam everywhere. And he's just saying us, I will fix it for United States. Do it for Canada. Me, I would say, President Trump, we are ready to work with you in collaboration to fix this problem. How come Justin Trudeau or Pierre Poilievre or even Danielle Smith, who said that she will send a drone near the border? Why you all react now with one comment of Donald? He's not even president yet.
That's right.
And they're all reacting like chicken without head.
Yeah.
It was incredible this week.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah.
Call Donald Trump. Talk seriously. Have a good discussion. Explain the concept, the problem, and have a plan, action plan to fix this problem. So that would be an advice that I would, if he ever wants to call me, I can give my phone number.
As Trudeau made very plain last week when he posted a newswire saying that he had a in-depth conversation with the president of the U.S., Joe Biden. This is him, wagging his fat little silver spoon finger at Trump, right? We all know, and Trudeau knows, who the president of the United States is, because he just sat down with them last week and they had a big old confab, right? So this is grandstanding beyond. This is just nuts. When does Trump, who you can't call the president yet, when does he take office? The day after inauguration. How long? Let's say the day he sits down in Oval Office, which probably won't be till a week after inauguration. Let's be realistic. Sits down with his scribes and says, okay, we got to put this into law to execute a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico. And I want them both to start on the same day. And his scribes and his legal team and his business team are going to be like, it's going to take us 2 months to make that happen. And that's a fact. That's a fact. Yes. He'll say, this is when I want it to happen. That's negotiating. He's negotiating. Like I said, this is the art of the deal. He's not even president yet, and people are already running. Well, our people are already running around, trying to make hay out of the latest TDS scare. Right? That he's not even in office. So here's the example. Dad loans his son the car every second day so the son can drive to work when the weather's inclement. And the car gets full of wrappers and foods left in it and books get left in it. And there's a pair of, we'll talk about that, left in it. And the dad says, clean up the car or I'm taking the keys. That's what he's doing. Clean up the car or I'm taking the keys, because I had to explain that to your mother this morning and that almost got us a divorce, right? Clean up the car. And the son goes, oh, but if you take away the car, I'm not going to be able to go to work. I'm going to lose so many jobs, and you're taking away my ability to pay for college. And the dad says, shut up. Go to the car, clean it up now before work starts, and nothing will change. And that's exactly what Trump is doing.
I'd give a different analogy. I'd say like you took a book out from the library and you didn't return it, and now there's a late fee. And now you're like, oh, life is so unfair. Like, this is all Trudeau's doing. And it just blew up in his face.
Yeah. You reminded me, I think I have a book.
Tropical Capricorn.
You have a book?
From 1978, right?
Wow, you have a book. That's incredible.
I have a book.
That's incredible. But I think you're right, Timothy. And the fact that, don't forget, Trump is he's a tele-reality master. But it works too. It works, and
Yes.
the problem is he's addressing a real problem,
Yeah.
and he's saying to a sovereign country, I think that's the intention. We can work. We have a 5,000-kilometer border with them.
Yeah.
He had. I think he had a discussion with the president of Mexico, and they agreed on watching more the southern border. And don't forget, in this declaration, he's mentioning drug cartel, fentanyl, which is an incredible problem.
It is
everywhere.
Yeah.
How
Mexico
come we
is,
are in this state of, I would say, demise in Canada? It is not possible. Homeless people, drug addict that we are not helping. So the problem of United States, the problem of Canada are similar. And he's offering to work with us, but the left, I would say, the leftists in Canada don't like that, because the women, they're shaving their head. They don't want to have sex for 4 years. They want to move to Canada. You can imagine.
Oh, please don't come here. We got our
please
own problems.
Don't come here.
Right?
Exactly. We don't need that. So it's public relation, but there's truth behind that.
Yes.
We are in big problems, and he wants to change things, and he's saying it. It's like that's performative in language.
That's right.
If I say now I walk and I'm sitting, it's not performative. But if I walk and I say I walk, it is performative. So he's doing what he's saying.
Yeah. And Canada, and Canada, the governments know that he can do what he says, because he beat Canada across the head in the last NAFTA discussions.
Exactly.
Because Freeland's a nut, right? Well, and Trudeau and Sock Boys know better.
You remember the
tragedy,
the dairy system. That's one aspect. But you in BC, you had the lumber,
softwood lumber,
and it's so we understand. United States, I would say it's the biggest nation in the world in terms of, I would say, power, actually. But they are our neighbors, and of course, it's very difficult to negotiate with them because we don't have the same power. But we have a border, so we have to. And
the value of consumer churn of America and that lifestyle to Canadian raw resources is extraordinary, and we have every right and ability to be on the top bunk in that relationship, and we don't, because we don't behave with integrity, right? So that
we're not mature,
and whatever maturity we had probably left when Diefenbaker took out of office.
No, that's what's
maybe Chrétien, but still, he was a liberal.
Chrétien, he had, but he had, I would say, he had a little bit of a spine because he stood up in the Iraq War.
That was,
and we were and Canadians were punished for that. But that's a political reason. Now it's, I would say, it's economical and it's demographical.
Well, the good news is we didn't have to retool to sell freedom fries.
Yes, exactly.
What was I going to say? I'm a programmer, and I was in programming. When you have two programs and they want to talk to each other, usually have an API, Abstract Programming Interface.
Mm-hmm.
It's a translator, and NAFTA, it's a translator for U.S. capitalist society to a Canadian socialist command economy society. And I think they were complaining about that stuff. You said dairy cartel, like all the crown corporations.
Yeah.
Well, the API must be very sophisticated to be able to translate capitalism concept into socialism concept, which are completely incompatible.
Completely incompatible.
You cannot base your economy on socialism, because we know it doesn't work. We need a certain level of capitalism, possibility of free trade, but free trade also has to be fair. If you have a bigger country, it has to give you incentive, so it could be fair. Nietzsche was saying justice is possible between two actors who have the same power, else it is domination. So I understand maybe Donald Trump, he will pressure Canada to, let's say, to come, not to comply, but to collaborate.
Collaborate.
And
what he's done is it's an offer to negotiate.
And if we can negotiate, you need strong negotiators. You need people who will be able to stand up, to explain, and maybe to see the dysfunction that we have in Canada. We have a lot of dysfunction. Not only the state, but we talk about lobbies. We talk about the influence of many groups, and there was an example with the beef in Canada, Canadian beef, and when they had the disagreement with the European Union, France were saying we don't want to have the Alberta beef because it's not 100%. What they call 100% in France is it's 100% and you cannot add nothing. Here it's 100%, but you can add additive, you can have things. It's still 100%, and France did not like this.
That was the CFIA, or the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, trying to accommodate the one case of mad cow disease that showed up in the early 2000s.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the media jumped all over it as if it was, SARS in animals. And the United States says, what? You've got mad cow disease? Nope. So Canada went to Europe and said, look, can you buy our cows? And the UK says, mad cow disease? Hell no, because that's where it came from, right? And France, who's always happy to tell Britain to F off, says, Canada? Nope, right? And it's all ego, and most of it was media driven. It was legitimate, like 1 or 2 cases. Now, grant you, in quality control, I'll pull 2 out of 1,000, right? I do my random sample. So, and then you extrapolate from there. So the actual number of infected animals could well have been considerably higher, but everybody went completely nuts about it. And like I said, and it's a intentionally reinterpreting data and rules.
Well, they
intentionally reinterpreting it.
They fuel the event, and this is I would say, the modus operandi of the mainstream media. And you saw Elon Musk who's saying that maybe he will buy MSNBC. It's quite but that's not. Come on, it is. When we talk about this, I think Trump understood very well that even in the last election, he's worse than Hitler. He's the devil. Now he's elected, and he's saying, wait a second, the American people ask me to fix the problem of drug, fentanyl, and it is in this. So he said, this is one measure, maybe not the only one.
That's right.
So, and he wants to work in collaboration with Canada and with Mexico. Are we ready for that? I say now, no, because everybody's panicking. Don't panic.
And good. Right.
Yes,
so this is you take the barrel with the rats who finally started to settle down, and you just rock the barrel a little bit and sit back and wait for some more settling down. Right. So it's Trump is an intelligent man, and he understands the psychology of business. And that where you have people in politics are often motivated by A, the wallet, or B, their ideology, or their amygdala, their feelings.
Their ego.
Right, their ego. And I'm sorry, but a businessman who's educated and intelligent, and I mean educated through the process of conducting their business for 5 decades, 6 decades, you take people like that, and he has around him a team of people who are arguably better than him in their respective fields, which is the Henry Ford model, right? There's a story that when he was older, the younger men that had gotten onto his board wanted to get rid of him, as well. You're old, and your ideas are old, and you've served your time, and you should do new blood in. And besides that, we don't think you can make a decision or do any leadership anymore. So he challenged them. He says, you ask me any question you like, and I will get the answer for you. So they would ask him questions, and on occasion, he'd hit a buzzer on his desk and say, call up John from accounting. They'd have to wait. John goes all the way up to the top, and Ford's just sitting there twiddling his thumbs waiting. So John would come up and would stand right beside Ford at the head of the table, and he'd look at him and say, okay, now you ask John that question. And then John would answer the question, and he'd say, thank you, John, have a good day. And did that for a couple of hours on occasion, bringing someone up from somewhere. And the young fellow who started the whole insurrection says, you've answered nothing. You've just proven to me that you're no longer capable. He said, it's not about what I know, it's about who I know.
Who I know, exactly. And there's one aspect that you mentioned that is important. Donald Trump, something was annoying me with Donald Trump since in his first mandate. He was always meeting people. Oh, great guy. This man is a great guy. I said, he's very lucky. He's surrounded by so great guy, even with Justin Trudeau. Oh, great guy at first. And I was always saying to myself, it's annoying to always listen to this. And I understand that maybe I think he has changed, but the fact that he's saying great guy is saying, I'm willing to negotiate with you. I'm willing to talk to everybody. And Vladimir Putin last week made a declaration. He said, Donald Trump is an intelligent man and we can talk to him.
Yeah.
They cannot talk to Biden. They cannot talk to Stoltenberg.
Biden can't talk, period.
Exactly. They cannot talk to Macron or his wife. It's like, forget about Schultz or Starmer in Great Britain. Donald Trump is a businessman and he wants to talk to everybody. Don't forget, he was the only one to meet Kim Jong-un in North Korea. Nobody dared to go there. So that would be a huge opportunity for the Canadian government to start something new. Unfortunately, the Liberal won't do that, and I will not be sure that the Conservative will do, because I saw the face of Pierre Poilievre when they asked him, and the face does not. The face will betray you.
The eyes will
it
not
doesn't
lie.
The eyes, and I saw the eyes, and I said, he's not happy.
On that note, let's go to our last subject, which is the by-election between the Conservatives, Liberals, NDP, Greens, People Party, and the Libertarian Party.
That's 6?
I don't know. I'm not good with numbers. Help me out. So I guess we can talk about the election in particular, but the Liberal candidate, her name is Madison Fleischer. She's been lying about her heritage, saying that she's Métis, and now the Métis Society is asking her to resign. I don't know what else to add to that. Like, what do you think the other parties should do? What do you think she should do, Tim?
Don't we have another Liberal federal member who recently had the same problem?
Randy.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Uncle Randy.
Wow. Is he different from Cocaine Randy? Is it the same individual?
No, it's because I think it is a prerequisite to be a liberal. No, come on. Why it doesn't touch other people, other parties?
So there's a line I heard is if you see one silverfish in your bathroom, there's 1,000 more behind the plumbing, right? So I'm wondering how many candidates are taking advantage of or trying to align themselves with Indigenous populations throughout Canada who are not, by blood, related to these peoples. How many more are there? That's the question I'm interested in hearing. How many more can we expect to surface? Because as the Indigenous peoples not only become wise, but start going public and learning that they have a very loud, very capable voice, when they start intentionally ferreting out people who are taking advantage of such relationships through lies. How many more are we going to see?
Well, it's like, it's like a whistleblower. You have one that goes out, and after that you will have 5, and then 20, and then 100. Yeah. Your point is interesting. The fact that she has to resign, it's only the symptom or the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, and Randy, the federal, he's a cabinet minister, yes.
It was.
And he was forced to resign. Forced to resign. So any hope of her hanging on and hiding away in little tiny Cloverdale, Langley City in the bottom of British Columbia and sneaking a by-election win, gone. If they do not replace her, they're guaranteed to lose all votes, all red votes. And if they do replace her, the taint is there.
Who's
That's
MP
right.
now? It was a Liberal that had the seat.
The it was
Because
yes,
no idea.
yes. 2015 was a Liberal, 2019 was a Conservative, and 2021 went back to Liberal. So that Liberal MP, I think when the federal electoral district boundaries changed with the census increase, that MP resigned. So
because
MPs,
why
sorry?
I ask the question is because I feel that the Liberal we look at the polls nationally and they're just sinking. So it's like you're at the bottom of the ninth. You're losing 10-0, and suddenly you will send your recruit for the first time,
right?
And you have two men's out, and you send him, and you say, "Do your best."
Right.
You understand very well that you will never win.
And in your relief pitcher, yeah, and they send in the DEI hire.
Yeah. So you can imagine.
What should they do? Should they just like pull out from this election by election?
Like the Conservative,
for her own political future, she has to withdraw.
What was it? BC United that dropped the campaign in the.
That was different. That dissolved.
Dissolved. But why I say it's
that was like
they should just concede.
That was like Nazi Germany. Like it just disappeared off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
So who will win? Who has the best chance?
Well,
the Conservatives
probably Conservative. However, I think that this makes a sudden change in that there is a red block, right? There is a red block of voters who are now up for grabs. So
yes.
What happened, right? So what happens strategically if this red block of voters suddenly decides, well, I'm just not voting? That's not what they do, because liberals want to be engaged. They're social beings. Liberal-minded individuals want to be part of the process. They will want to cast their X. My voice will be heard. Here is my X right next to the voice that will be loudest. And now she's gone. She has to resign to save her own political future and to distance herself from a Liberal Party that probably caused this confusion. On her.
Well,
strategically, I would counsel her, step down, let this fall on the Liberal Party, because they're going down anyway, and find yourself another cause. Right? So you have this red block. What are we going to do with them? And now I think, as a strategist, who should go after them? Well, the Greens won't, because they don't. Right? Conservatives they're never going to get a red vote. Orange? Maybe. But everybody in the Valley, everybody in the Fraser Valley knows that Singh is a bad man. Everybody. Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
So it will not go to the NDP.
No. Those votes won't go
to the
Libertarian
Party?
The Libertarian Party? Can you imagine? I think that's an oxymoron. Let's be honest. I mean, I've been mad already, so let me get mad again. I think it's an oxymoron that Libertarians
is a party
would form a party.
Yes, exactly.
Are you kidding me? Only in a democratic nation, right? Would a Libertarian form a party? That's who you should have an interview with. The leader of the Libertarian Party.
But in Canada, we're accustomed to that.
We are. We're
accustomed to oxymoron. Post-national country.
Right.
United Nation. Are we united? No. So
it was the Rhino Party in the 70s had a national make work program that they were going to tear down. They were going to tear down the Rocky Mountains and fill the Great Lakes. That was the Rhino Party in the 70s. That was fantastic.
When is the election?
Which one?
I don't know.
This by-election is December 16th.
16 on my birthday. Wow. I will
On your
watch.
birthday.
All right, guys. Let's focus this back here. All right. So I think what I'm hearing, Tim, is liberals will never vote conservative. Their votes have to go to the NDP, the Greens, or the PPC.
I think the PPC has a legitimate opportunity. They just have to play it smart. Time to put on the big boy pants and get out there and do some proper campaigning.
They have a month.
I think they have a real opportunity.
They have 3 weeks.
I think they have a real opportunity. Right? How often does the single biggest competitor, which is the Liberals in Vancouver City, more or less, in the GVRD, leave a hole that big? Right? And the Conservatives cannot fill it. Cannot. Go get those Liberal voters. Go get them. Sick them, Fang.
Andre?
Well, it's a good challenge. It's a very good challenge because, and that would be very interesting. I'll watch this on my birthday night.
On your birthday.
But why I say this is because we see the poll nationally, and
yes,
the Liberal losing.
Yes.
I think Poilievre will have 240 seats in the House, a super majority. The NDP is not doing well. The Bloc is always the same thing. The Bloc is the Bloc. So imagine if the Conservative don't win, or let's say the Libertarian or the PPC does, let's say 15-20%.
That's right.
That could be a shock for the next federal election. That people will say, wait a second, let's say the PPC does 20%. Wow. Maybe it is interesting. And then you can see the poll after Christmas. You can see maybe the poll starting to change. And of course, the Liberal will panic, but this is a normal condition for Liberal. They're all in panic. So
I would say the Conservative Party would panic way more.
Oh yes, I do agree.
And that's okay, because I don't mind them. I don't mind them losing some of that, because 260 projected seats is too much.
It is too. You know what is important? They don't panic now. Let them panic. Maybe they will start to hear the voice of the people. That's a message that I would tell them. You're panicking because now the voice of the people is coming into the House of Commons. Before people it was echo chamber.
Yeah, people tend to tell the truth under two emotionally stressful conditions. One is they're angry, or two is they're panicked.
Panic, fear.
Yeah. So if you can get the federal Blues into a panic situation, that is, let's say the Greens start picking up seats, or let's say Libertarian parties start popping up, right, and actually making an impact. Maybe not winning seats, but making an impact. Let's say the PPC actually won a by-election.
That would be a shock.
That would
tsunami.
Would shock
because you break the shell of the uni party. You break it, or you crack it.
Trudeau would invoke the Emergencies Act again.
Oh, don't give him good ideas. He might listen. He might listen to you.
Yeah. I should be careful what I say. I'm not going to change the subject, but I just want to share something. You guys haven't seen this. Do you see this? It should be a spreadsheet.
Yes.
I did an interview with Ian Kennedy. He's the People's Party candidate in that by-election, and we kind of mapped out the different strategies.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I didn't really share this with you, but it's interesting. So you got the Liberal Party, Conservative, NDP, and Green. All of them are leaning into housing because it's top of mind. All of them have one BS issue that they have to talk about because it's part of their campaign. So like the Liberal Party, healthcare, it's just, that's how they whip up their party, their base. So they have
that's
to
how they get to like the nurses unions and
But like the Conservatives, this is the carbon tax election, so that's one gone. The NDP, workers' rights, like what a joke, that's one gone. And the Green Party has to do climate change. And then some of them ping pong between like crime and I guess that's it, crime and healthcare. So this is roughly the breakdown of what they're fighting over.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So then the Libertarian and the PPC are just called outliers and everybody ignores them.
Yeah. And I love the Libertarian platform. I mean, who doesn't want limited government, low taxes, and property rights?
Exactly.
I still think it's funny.
And you can't see it. Yeah, it's funny. For the PPC, this is not actually the official one that Ian Kennedy. While you guys talk, I'll bring up Ian Kennedy's official position.
Sure.
Okay.
The
But it is interesting
No
because
pressure.
they're always focusing. I would say the traditional party, they're focusing on healthcare, economy, education. It's always the same thing. But I'm sorry. Yes, you have a very big drug problem in BC. You have a lot of problem with housing, so they will hammer this. But will they be efficient? Because I think it is Timothy who said, you stay local, you get close to people, you listen to them. What are the problems that they are facing, and an MP that will be elected will have to address that first. I think after that, national policy, it's something else.
and I don't think it's useful even to make a platform of we're going to do this and this and this and this, and then go to the people and say, if you elect us, this will be the mandate. I still think it needs to be the other way around.
What was
right?
the promise of David Eby, $1,000 before the election? That was it.
That's right. That's right.
It's gone now.
It's gone.
It's like the $250 of Trudeau and the GST tax break. They're gone now.
Yeah, because
they're changing their policies every week.
EB giveth and EB taketh away.
Nobody pays attention. Nobody holds them accountable.
Well, because nobody believes it anymore except the media. And so really what it is it becomes this propaganda as a make work project.
We see now what is happening with the media. And you will have a lot of coverage for this by-election from CBC, for example, or National Post, or
no, because because the Liberal Party owns the media. Black press, right? Locally, Black Press Media, which is on the Pacific. You see this website. Look at the triangle in the top right corner beside the newsletter, right? So that's Black Press Media. Black Press Media's logo, yeah, right. They're liberal shills, so they're not going to make any noise about the by-election other than what they're required to do.
So who's leading now in the polls? I suppose it's the Liberal.
I don't think they've released a poll yet.
Okay.
Do they do polling for BC politics? Does anyone care?
No, but
this is federal, right? This is federal, so maybe 338 will be interested.
Yes, because I would refer to the September by-election in Quebec and in Ontario. The outcome was what? I think 45% of the people went voting. So what you were saying, Timothy, is good. Liberals, they want their vote to count, so they will go. And especially that the liberal ship looks like more like a Titanic.
It's grounding,
and it can influence the rest of the country.
Yes.
Yes. I as a Quebec citizen, I never interest myself into BC politics, but now I'm looking everywhere in Canada.
It used to be boring. It used to be boring, but when the BC Conservatives sprang up from the dead, it got interesting. So,
because we didn't mention the Nova Scotia election.
No, we didn't bring that up at all. Right.
Apparently, there was a really low voter turnout. 45.
That's why. If
less than half.
If there's a good turnout in BC.
Yeah,
say 60, 65%, 70% goes to vote. It can influence not only the representation, but the people will say, wait
distribution.
A second. Yes, exactly. Wait a second. I will go vote in the next federal election because it is important.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people now who are waiting. They're observing what is happening on the federal scene. And they say, wait, maybe it is shifting. Maybe my vote will start to count again. So it could help. It could help for the system, the institution, the democracy.
from an entrepreneur perspective, this hole now being left by the Liberal Party in Cloverdale, Langley City, and it is going to be a hole. I don't think, I'll call it, she'll be stepping down. And they'll put someone else in, but it'll be...
You heard it here first.
She'll be stepping down. It's just because Boissonnault. But now he will have, if she stays, he'll have a reason to go back and say, give me my job back.
Well, he doesn't need the job. He has a salary.
Right? Right? Doesn't, right? He'll have a reason. He'll be able to go back. So that hole that is left, as an entrepreneur, I look for a need, and then I see if I have the capacity or the relationships or the resources to fill the need and make some money while I'm at it. So the other competing political parties for that seat, and it is a legitimate member of parliament seat, even if it's only for 8 or 10 months, 12 months or whatever, it's a legitimate seat. You will get paid. It will count toward your pension. It will count, right? So if you're green, then that would be a 50% increase to your representation in parliament. If you're yellow, that would be a landmark event, right? Libertarian. If you're purple, blues would shake.
Yes, because
right?
you
shake,
enter in the house,
right? Because you would have an actual common sense Canada first, right?
Well, you would have, you know what? For 10 months, if the PPC would win, they would be in the house.
Yes.
They could challenge either the Liberal and the Conservative and the NDP.
Yes.
They could challenge even with one MP.
And the value and the exposure is immeasurable.
Exactly.
Yes.
Could
I
they
tell you the dam is cracked.
Yeah.
Could they release the names of those 11 MPs?
That's a very good question.
If you get in as a PPC member,
depends on if they have access.
But they can request it, can't they?
They can request it.
I don't know the details on that.
Let's say they don't have it, but there was no. You know what? They will have colleagues now or adversary, opponent. But of course, if there's either a Libertarian or PPC who gets in, they will start to have a discussion outside of the house, blah blah blah. And sometimes in the friendly conversation, you just pop up the names.
That's right.
The MP has them and says he rise up in the house and start to tell.
You need to loosen someone's tongue. A $1,600 bottle of wine will probably do the job.
maybe. So
taxpayer
I think this by-election could be very interesting, and maybe I would suggest people to pay attention to it.
Yeah. Let's say now I'm going to make another prediction. Red's going to pull. They'll pull out. And all the language from the National Party, Liberal Party, will be to support the orange seat.
Oh, I see.
Oh, coalition. That's already it's already in place, but
it's already in, right? Yeah. And Trudeau will be able to block, right? Trudeau,
the Conservative.
Yeah. Trudeau will be able to go to the NDP to sing and say, "You owe me, asshole."
Hook her up.
Right? Yeah.
But it is very interesting because the Liberal and the Bloc are very close ideologically. They block. So what they will do? They will do exactly that. Maybe they will call Yves-François Blanchet. Can you give us some insights about how we can block the Conservative in the BC by-election? And
if I was the People's Party and such a thing were to happen, then my messaging says you cannot trust the Liberal Party because they don't respect your vote. They're trying to make you vote for the NDP, and you go to the NDP and you say your values are being watered down because Singh is in relationship with Trudeau trying to add more votes.
You know what we're talking
about? My language on that's not quite right, but you could easily do that where you infiltrate supporters of orange and red and say your leadership does not respect you. You should put your X on a party that will.
Okay, so if they do that in 2 weeks, we can ask a copyright because we're giving them strategy.
That's right. So I want my paycheck. Right. I don't want it in Bitcoin. Talk to the Vancouver mayor.
All right, guys. I think we should wrap up the episode. It's been one of the longer ones. I don't know. We had some laughs. Tim, you definitely got hot there for a moment. It went all over the place, but I thought it was a good episode.
Yeah, I see my therapist in a few minutes.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend, and thanks to the audience for watching.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Have a good night.